I think over the years people have just been dumping debris and stuff, and it's slowing down, where the water is supposed to be going.
I think we're gonna get started. My name is Kate Walden. I'm the Parks Project Manager, and it's my pleasure to have this to hold this community meeting here about discussion of the future of Wolfe Park. So, a couple logistics. If anybody needs to use the restroom, they're right out here. There's also a water fountain over here, and then there's a bubbler over there that you can help yourself to. The idea of what to do with Wolfe Park really, I think, took some energy once Chris Brickley and his father helped organize the reconstruction of those beautiful courts. And with that, talking to some of the leagues and what's been going on with the area, we started thinking about what could this beautiful park be. It's in a gorgeous part of town. There's a lot that can be done. So we appreciate each and every one of you coming today to help create that vision. We have been working with TF Moran on the master plan, and so this is in the very early stages. We have certain ideas about what, through some surveys that have been done, what the community's been asking for, some of the things that have been over the years suggested. So we've also tried to bring some of those ideas, but we're really looking for some honest response from the people in the room here. Speaking of honest responses, I'm going to send it over to Bill Berry, our alderman, who wants to talk about this in the ward that's here.
Hi, I'm Bill Berry. I'm the alderman in Ward 10. So this is really, really important to me, and I want to thank Mark Gomez, Katie, and everyone from Parks and Rec that have been part of this plan and the thoughts that went into it. I think it's important. Growing up, I played sports in Manchester. I'm a lifelong resident. I've only been on the west side for 25 years now. I've been alderman for 11 right now, so it's my 6th term. And one of the things I heard when I first started running for alderman was the west side is always the forgotten side. And I wanted to change that. I think I've worked very, very hard on getting the roads in Ward 10 paved and reconstructed, and I think it's worked out well. Now my plan is to see if we can get something for not only the youth in our city, but also adults that want to play pickleball. So with this plan, part of the plan is, and like Katie had mentioned about the basketball court, hopefully everyone knows and are familiar with the basketball court. They're state of the art. They're beautiful, nice color scheme. That was done by Chris Brickley and his dad, Bill Brickley. I was down there. I watched how it formed and everything, so it's very nice. Parks and Rec came up with a plan to renovate the playground, which is right next to it, and it's got the same color scheme as the basketball court, so it looks beautiful. That's completed. That just got completed last month. So now, we had talked about what can we do and what should we do, and I looked at other cities, other towns that have skateboard parks. And I'm not going to skateboard, but there's a lot of young kids in the city, not just the west side, not just Ward 10, but throughout the city of Manchester. We've got a captain that's on the fire department that is a huge skateboard fan, and he has a network of skateboarders that are dying to get something solid in the city of Manchester. This is the perfect location. We are going to save one Little League. If I wish Little League baseball was as popular as it was when I was growing up. Not only growing up and playing it myself, but also coaching. I coached for about 25 years Little League baseball in Pony League and Colt League and also Babe Ruth. And I think that's important to me that, we have something like that. In this case, we're planning on saving one of the Little League parks, building a skateboard park, building pickleball. You guys have the diagrams and everything, and Bob is going to talk about how everything is going to be put together. Across the street at the softball field, and it used to be, growing up in the city of Manchester, that was the place to play softball. They had tournaments, national tournaments at Wolfe Park, and we want to bring that back. And the way to bring that back is to make sure the park's in really good shape, the fences are exactly where they should be, But the bleachers, one of the biggest complaints is the bleachers because there's no place to sit. It's all, was it granite or, I don't know, it's concrete. They're gonna keep the concrete, but I think, and they'll explain later, but they're gonna put new seating, and so it's gonna be, it should be beautiful. And if you look at the plan, it's not only the skateboard park and the pickleball courts, but there's also gonna be for people that wanna walk, and they're gonna have a walking trail around everything that's there, going across the street and coming back around. I think, Katie, Bobby will say it, I think is it a mile? Half a mile? So, okay. So that's it, and I just wanted to, let you know where I stand. I think it's really important, not only for Ward 10, not only for the west side, but also for the whole city of Manchester, because that should be used by everyone. And we want to bring people across the river, I guess you could say. Back when I was growing up, even when I was in high school, it's like the west side was a different country. So we just want to invite people over, and I think, have them enjoy it. Plus, it's going to open up for other corridors, second, three corridor, the restaurants and things like that. So I think it's a good fix for everybody. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, and Mayor, I don't know if you would like to say a few words.
Sure. I'll keep it brief because I'm really excited. I don't want everyone to have to crane their necks. I'll keep it brief just because I'm really excited to hear what you all have to say about this. But to me, this is a perfect example and one of the reasons why I love the job that I have. If you look at the communication and collaboration that we have here tonight with Parks and with Alderman Barry and Alderman O'Neill, I don't think I'm missing anybody else. The Heritage Commission is here as well, Stan, but this to me is perfect. This is how the city should work. And with all the folks that are here offering your feedback, your thoughts, insights, suggestion, that this can't just be a top-down approach. This has to be a bottom-up. We want to hear from you. So I'm thrilled to have this opportunity tonight to get your feedback. Thank you, Alderman Barry, for all of your work in this area. This is something that he's been talking to me about since I was sworn in January, so we're really lucky to have Bill being on top of this every step of the way. But thank you all so much for coming out and caring about the West Side, caring about your community, and getting engaged and getting involved. We can't do our jobs if you're not telling us what you want to see. So deeply appreciate it. Thank you all for coming out.
Thank you. Alderman O'Neill, do you want to say anything?
How could I top the mayor and all that?
I'm a secondary sideshow to you guys.
All right, and I do want to also add that we have a representative from the Conservation Commission too. So we were trying to get everybody involved with this. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bob Duvall, who is working with the TF Moran group.
Thank you, Katie. I also want to point out Mike Lopez, who was, I think, formerly mayor of the West Side. At any rate, I'm glad you came, Mike, and I'm glad everybody came. So I'm chief engineer of TF Moran, and what we're doing here is, on behalf of the Parks Department, they engaged us to prepare a master plan. So a master plan is like a roadmap. It's not the details, it's sort of the headlines of what we're going to include. So we've created a couple of ideas here, and I'm going to introduce Sophie Haddock in a minute. She's our chief designer for this project, and Mike Kosminski, who's our chief landscape architect. Mike actually worked on the last improvements that were made to Wolfe Park 30 years ago?
95.
95.
95, 96.
So, we have a long history with not just with Wolfe Park, but with parks in general in Manchester, going back 30, 40 plus years. And I've worked on many of those myself. I played in them all at one point or another. I'm a lifelong Manchester resident. So I'm very happy to be here for this project, and I'm excited about what we're going to show. And the purpose of this is to get your ideas and your questions and your thoughts on how to develop this park. We just put together a framework here, a roadmap. We want to make sure we're heading in the right direction, so that's what you're here for. So we want you to talk just as much as, or even more than we talk. So with this, let me introduce Sophie, who's going to explain what we've done so far, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm Sophie, landscape designer. So as he said, our goals for tonight, we want to hear from you, get your feedback. Another thing that we would like is these slips should be on everybody's chair. As we kind of describe what we're doing, the changes we want to make, we want to know what is most important to you. So when we phase this project out, we can prioritize what you guys want to see first and get that done quicker. So you can fill these out, number 1 through 13. And then also, we're going to talk about the activity area. With this northern part, above the softball field. So we've been playing with some ideas about possibly an outdoor gym, or there used to be horseshoe pits here, so maybe turning those into bocce pits, cornhole, things like that. And if you have any other ideas, we'd love to hear those as well. So, I'm going to get started. This, if you don't know where Wolfe Park is, this is Wolfe Park. And I hope everybody can access these forms we passed out on every other chair. So hopefully everybody has one. I know it's a little hard to read. But these are our goals that we've talked about for the site. That's better. Okay. Or is that too dark? Is that okay? So, starting from the top, we have this activity area. Maybe walking the field. That I just mentioned where the horseshoe pits were. We want to repair our. Yeah. Okay, and then the half-mile loop, we have the same. Oopsie. So I know it's hard to see, so they're generally following the same path. We kind of nodded to the existing fence lines for the baseball fields. And if you want to bike them, walk them, run them, a couple laps gives you a mile. The other thing is lighting. So for the softball field, the lighting needs to be turned. We want to bring in LED lighting, which would be better. And the basketball court needs their lighting to be fixed. And then when we install pickleball and skate park, we want to bring in lighting for that as well, obviously. We'd also like to include lighting along the path. So when you're taking a walk at night or in the evening, we want everybody to feel safe and have a well-lit path. And then the other thing is ADA accessibility. So across both plans, that's important to us. Make sure that everything is accessible, whereas right now it's not really. We just want to ensure that sidewalks can be easily accessed by wheelchairs. So our differences between the two, we have, as mentioned before, this gym and the bocce courts. So we have an example of what these would look like. So for a gym, outdoor gym, we wanted to have, especially since the senior center is nearby, we wanted to give people a chance to stretch and just do some basic movement that doesn't require too much maintenance for the parks department. So these are just a few. There's like box steps and push-up bars, tricep dips, things like that, just to get people moving. And then we also have the option for bocce courts and permanent cornhole areas. We could also, if it's of interest, we could also restore the horseshoe pits. So that's another thing we want to hear from you about. The other change is the new parking lot. So we have more parking provided on concept B. However, the skate park will have to be further from the road, which is more of a safety concern. With a little bit less parking, we can get the skate park closer to the road. So you can easily see what's going on. It will be safer. Either way, we do have an additional, with the improvements to the existing parking, with concept A, we get 49 additional spots. And with concept B, we get 64 additional spots. So there's going to be more parking regardless, which is great. So it's just about how we lay that out and getting the skate park where it should be. And then another thing is the skate park area being closer to the road. The pickleball courts, we have 8 proposed on either concept, so it's basically just the layout is a little different. And then the traffic calming, we have discussed having raised crosswalks, but that was a bit of a concern for plowing, so we're not sure if we'll be able to take that route. And the other option is having the street narrowing to get the crosswalks. So it just slows traffic, calms traffic, so there's safer areas to cross, and the drivers are paying more attention. And then lastly, this is another thing we'd love for input on. We have these open areas, and this one is smaller, about 2,400 square feet. And on concept B, we get a bit of a bigger space, 6,000 square feet. So we wanted to discuss things we could put there. We could leave it as an open space, or we could include a few other options. So one was, sorry. Should be in here. There we go. We talked about maybe a little roly-poly kind of area for the younger kids, really young kids, to play on their bikes. It's almost like a pump track, but just really a lot smaller. Could also have a picnic area. And then since it's right next to the playground, we talked about maybe extending the playground, adding some swings. So that's something that we definitely would want comments on from you guys. And I think that's mostly the differences. We also have a difference in lighting options that we can talk about. We have looked at maybe doing street lighting, street lamps, which give broader lighting, but it would be hard to kind of place them amongst the trees in certain spots. And then also we talked about maybe solar or motion activated bollard lighting. And then this is also just to show a few of our features. So we could have a memorial garden that goes around the existing memorial as a way to kind of honor that. And this is not our skate park, just to clarify, but this is just an option of what a skate park could look like on the site. So I think with that, can we open it up for discussion?
So let's open it up. Anybody have any questions or comments to start off with?
The building that is there right now at the baseball field, do you plan to keep that building standing?
Yes, so there's a couple of buildings in the area. Is that what you're talking about? Yes, we do plan on keeping that.
What would it be used for?
Right now, it's used for a concession stand and restrooms. So we would definitely want to clean that up and maybe find other uses for it as well.
So if the baseball league, so we're from the baseball league.
Okay.
If the Little League were not using that building anymore, even when we're utilizing the fields, would it be something that the building could go?
I think for the bathrooms, we might need to keep it. I know that with the press box that has restrooms, but they're not in great condition, so we do need to replace that building. So there would be bathrooms across the street in that case.
And would those bathrooms be open to the public for the pickleball courts like at all times?
I think usually they have like a locking system so that they'd be closed at night. But during the day, yes. Yeah.
And since you brought up the question of buildings, there are a few other buildings on the property. Can you zoom in on the softball building?
Yeah.
So that building is really in tough shape. and cannot be saved. It really needs to come down. So that building is coming down, and then there's a storage building right here. And you can see that that's also in tough shape. That one has to go. The one we just talked about, the concession stand for Little League, that can stay. And
It's a little shed.
and there's a little,
Which building are you speaking of? Which buildings are you speaking of?
the concession stand near the memorial in the middle of the baseball fields, that one we're going to fix up. That one would stay. The press box for the softball field, that one has to come down. The building is just too far gone.
So the Little League buildings stay.
The Little League stays, softball goes, and then the storage buildings, there's one up on Harvell Street, and then there's a couple more sheds. Those are.
Can I add just to her comment about the bathrooms and that? First of all, the Little League building should have been torn down 25 years ago. I was involved in that particular area. Okay? We built a new building down in the Little League building, okay, years ago. So that building is not a public building for bathrooms. And the bathrooms that are over in the softball field are ridiculous. You need new bathrooms. If you're gonna do it right or don't do it. And that's the problem that we've had in that particular area for years, is we pieced things together. It was all volunteer work, doing a lot of stuff. I remember George Smith, I remember quite a few people, Hanley, got on their hands and knees. The question I wanted to ask for the Heritage Commission is the swamp area. Every year in the springtime, you can't even get down there. It's really wet. So I would need to have them address that as you go along with this project. Because what will happen, you'll have a nice skateboard park, you'll have all the other stuff over here, and the big sign, Wolfe Park, which is another area that I'll discuss in a minute. But the back area where the small kids are playing the Little League field, that's swampy down there. And you gotta really address that in order to make a great complex in this particular area. So I'm very familiar with that particular area. The other thing I'd like for you to look at, I understand the Wolfe Park area, okay? But John Sullivan, Sully Superette, was a great supporter of that league down there in so many years. And Lally Memorial too was down here. So I hope that people will look into the history of John Sullivan and Lally Memorial Field. It's important that we keep history a little bit there, other than saying Wolfe Park. Wolfe Park, everybody knows it's a softball. Okay, it's not the whole complex. Just to keep that in mind. The other one in the skateboard park that was very instrumental in the skateboard park was the Alderman on the east side, when the skateboard park was built over there by Beach Street. We didn't put lighting in there for a reason. I see in the plans you have lighting. And we went through that whole conversation about lighting at night. In the summertime, they can stay there until night. But if you put lighting, you're going to have people there all times of the night. Believe me, you're going to look for problems. And the other area I've seen where parents taking their little kids there for the area and the play area, because there's no place for them to sit. All you got to do is bring a chair with them. So think about some small benches or something that people can't sleep on. At least give parents an opportunity to sit down and watch their kids.
Yeah.
Just comment.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to follow up with Mike, what Mike said, as far as the lighting goes, my understanding, Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, but any city park, the lights can be on till like people have to get out of there by 9 p.m. So I would hope that the lights would go off at 9 p.m. so that people wouldn't be hanging out. And I know we have a homeless issue that we're concerned about people going in there and doing bad things or whatever. Obviously, our hope, not just in this area but throughout the city, is that we do whatever we can to police the area to make sure that things aren't damaged and so on. So that's something that we're going to have to work on.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the lighting. It seems like you addressed it. Most skate parks around here would have lights on until about 10 o'clock, and then they would slowly dim when it's time to leave the park. So, something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
If I could comment on that same topic.
Yeah.
I appreciate the concern with the lighting and with vagrancy or other activities happening there. My belief, and I've seen studies that look at this in other cities, when you have good actors there, it pushes out the back.
Right.
I think so. If the lighting's on and people are skating until midnight, that's great. But if the lights turn off and homeless people move in, that's bad. So I think there are two ways that can go, and it's not necessarily lighting going to solve it one way or the other. I didn't, Mike, I didn't understand the swamp area you were talking about. Is that the one between Dairy Queen and the fields?
Are you talking about
The one to the left. Okay, so everything south of that park is private land, but everything north, well, most of it is. But I was really curious, on the northern section, the city owns the land north of there, and it is so disgusting I would never put a walkway around there. That plot right next to Carriage Road Apartments, that one. That's owned by the tax collector's office, was taken in '93. It is disgusting and full of trash and swampy and oily, and maybe the oil's natural, I don't know. But as I saw, it looked like the walkway would go back there. And I don't like going back to the pits, the what do you call it, the horseshoe pits, because it's gross back there. So I think if anything was to include going back towards that end, it would need to include cleaning up that area.
Yeah,
Potentially integrating into the park.
Yeah, we just have the path. We'd like to integrate it with the existing path that goes across the north side, but it doesn't go into the upper lot.
No, yeah, I'm saying I don't even like walking over there because then you see it, it's full of trash.
Yeah.
If that wasn't cleaned up, I don't think anyone would actually really want to take that path, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So if you wanted a holistic view of that park, it includes what happens in that vacant lot
Clean
over
up.
there. And given that it's city owned, maybe it can be integrated into the park and cleaned up.
Yeah.
Idea.
Just to build on what he's saying, I live right up by my house is the pathway that leads down that area. It's sinking down in. Like if you walk back there, that has to be drained, like you had mentioned earlier, and built up really well, or that to be even safe. So like my wife, she doesn't want to take the kids down there just because of the vagrancy issue, and it's just nasty.
Yeah, the trash is inside.
Yeah, it's just gross.
Yeah, I know part of the path too is like caved in.
Yeah. Even going down the path to the field, it's all caving in, and so all of that would have to be fixed.
This, I just want to remind everybody, this is the kind of dialogue we want to have. The details of how we're going to deal with a sinkhole or a low area or a wet area, that's going to come out in the final design. We know we have to deal with these things. We will deal with these things. We've already identified the edge of wetlands and the baseball field area, and we're going to make sure that the field stops short of wetlands and will be built up, high and dry above the wetlands.
Would you get more use out of a gym for it to be over in the pickleball and skate park area than it would be behind the softball field?
I think we could. The ideas of the senior center is right there. There's senior living, so we might get users who just want to go there.
And I could be totally wrong about the bathrooms in that complex. My understanding is that those bathrooms are only open if a league or an individual from the city has a key to open them. So if you're down at the park or if there's a basketball function going on, I'm not sure if the basketball courts have the ability to open those bathrooms, but I know as a baseball league we do. And we actually weren't able to use them this year because every time they were open, they were horrible.
Okay.
So that building is not used by Little League whatsoever at this point right now.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, just don't underestimate, I think Alderman Barry's comment about good behavior, we're dealing with bad behavior in other parks throughout the city where we're looking at lighting, looking at gates. Officer Earl is Officer Richell from the police department does I always screw it up, septic design, and, he should be included in any of this. He goes out in the middle of the night to check on the lighting conditions, but lighting is important, and I can tell you up at Livingston, we don't have enough of it, so it leads to unwanted behavior, not just homeless, because it's people with cars that come in all hours of the night, they had stolen cars there, so don't underestimate the need to light. I do agree with the comment, keeping the skateboard park, they bring good behavior as far as I'm concerned, and keeping that going later, I think, is a good thing. So
everybody knows, among the most important issues that were identified to us in this project are security and, maintainability, so that whatever we built is easy to maintain, and whatever we build is designed with security in mind, where it is, what it looks like, how high it is, etc.
Just to follow up with that, this gentleman, when he was talking about, how the spots behind the softball field, that path, it is. I've been there. I walked there with Katie when we looked at this whole plan, and we did notice that there was trash and everything like that. Is there any thoughts of putting up some type of fencing around that area so that people, because what it seems like they're doing is they're going in there and they're doing whatever they're doing, leaving everything behind, which again it does happen, and we are working on improving everything in the city, and we want to make sure that we address this hopefully before it happens. But even put up fencing, some type of fencing along that wooden section, so that people they want to use easy access.
We are having an ongoing conversation with parks about how much fencing and where to put it. So that's certainly being considered. In the back?
I'm with the Conservation Commission, so our focus is on wetlands. So I just wanted to reiterate the importance of actually protecting that wetland in the back. And then with our new city updates, there may be a 10-foot buffer that will be put in place around the edge of wetland. So just to incorporate that into your... Yeah.
So are you saying that?
It's our goal to not touch any wetlands as part of this.
Are you guys talking about the city land that's between Carisburg, there's the wetlands, or
No.
the south, the one that Casey's owns? Okay. Yeah.
And I know a gentleman had talked about actually a safety issue with small children going back there, so maybe considering some netting or some fencing or something that would kind of help keep balls out of the wetland area, so people don't need to go in there.
Walking's beautiful.
This
There's a brook going through.
This is where the wetlands get actually closest to the outfield. It almost touches the outfield and left the corner of the Little League field.
I'm just going to speak some history. I'm currently the president of Little League, Manchester Little League. I've been part of the whole merger process. I played at Wolfe Park probably 4 years ago. I played up here, so I know what it was in its better days. These fields were their better days. The problem with these fields now is we're operating 2 facilities. Freeport Park off South Willow Street, which has 4 fields. 4 fields here, and the volunteerism is tough. Parks and Rec has been amazing to us this year, but for us to ask them to maintain 4 more fields, which are these fields, where we don't use them every day, would be crazy for us to ask when they're focusing on the fields that we do use every day. I've heard from people asking, concerned that these fields are being taken from Little League. Well, number one, they're not ours. We file for permit every year, but they're not. Will it hurt us? Who knows? Our numbers grow every year, but with 1 field being left there, we can utilize that. It gives us the opportunity to expand to an upper division because that's a bigger field, bigger than the Little League Diamonds. Put 2 or 3 smaller divisions out there and practice at the same time, so we're not losing that. We still have a field, and there are other fields to use. The building, I think the building should be knocked down. I have been called probably a dozen times by the police, people living in there, breaking in, doors open, garage door open, they're jimmying the doors. There's been people living there, and now the police are kicking the doors to see if people are upstairs. So the bathroom, they went in and destroyed the bathrooms. They cut the wires on the overhead door, so they've been in there. Because it's dark down there, so again, lighting is huge. Maintenance, I think you guys are on maintenance because it's going to be city maintained. I think the easier you make it to maintain is good for them too, because it's hard to maintain full baseball fields. But looking at the map, I'm a surveyor by trade too, so that path, where the concern is the path over behind the softball field, why couldn't we make that path go along the back side of that Wolfe Park softball fence? It might shorten the distance, but it gets away from that area he's talking about. So we're right behind the fence. Would connect it, it makes it a little shorter, just a thought.
Yeah.
I think those areas in that right-hand side, I just think that's an area for trouble. Lighting up there because I've never been back there, but I know what it's like on the other side of the street with baseball fields, and it's dark. It's dark down there.
Taking the building out also opens you so that those pickleball courts are not hidden and people can be seen.
If you took the building out and made it a smaller like bathroom facility, could you get more parking by sliding that back towards that building more? You can move that open space more to the building area and then downsize that building because that's overkill. We haven't used that building since when West was in existence, and that was 2017. Right now it's just storage for us. It's not even our stuff, it's stuff from West, but stuff that we will take some of it out there. But I think this is a great idea for the city, so just having activity and lighting down there, it's only for the better. So, and I remember the skateboard park years ago in the inner city, and I remember going by there, that was lit at night, and the inner city kids were down there using it all, so I think that's all I had.
Thanks. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jim O'Connell with the school board. So I like all of this. I mean, the city generally has a deficit of amenities for the young people in the city. There was a time in the distant past where the city actually reduced the numbers of basketball court facilities, etc. I like what I heard about people being able to leave. It's a good thing if young people are occupied and able to use this park later into the evening. Sending them all home at 9 o'clock to go onto the sidewalk or whatever is not a good answer, right? It's all about the gentleman who said good behaviors drive out bad behaviors. And the lighting is key. And my understanding is that you could put like ambient lighting there that goes to full when somebody is occupying it.
Yes.
So that I was told by a police officer that in some facilities at least that they could tell whether, like just from driving by it without having to examine the whole area, that knowing when the light was up it meant somebody's moving around in there or using it properly. And when the lighting was low, well then, it probably wasn't, but it means a police officer driving by and they were like, oh, well, I can go by, there's something happening there. But so I like the idea of the, I think having it lit and allowing people to, the good usage thing is what resonated with me. There are young people, adults and young people in this city who and we see that with the use of the new basketball courts, right? That they're used and used often. So the pickleball courts, there are people waiting to use that. I'll reserve my comments to just one other thing. I love the idea, whether it's called Wolfe Park or not, whatever it's called, I like that. It's kind of sort of a tie into other things in the city where that arch is being used. I presume there'd be one at both ends of the street, so you're entering a park area. I really like that. So my last comment has to do with raised sidewalks, raised crosswalks. And I've heard from people at DPW that they don't like raised crosswalks because of the snowplow issue. And I bow to my friends in DPW who have to actually drive snowplows. So what do I know? I don't drive them. But I just as a city, we're generally against them. And as a traffic calming measure, they're used in other cities. They're used in other cities in the Northeast. You can see them being used very effectively. And so if you're able to raise crosswalks, you can see them in other cities being used successfully. So is it because it slows the plow down? Is it because it causes damage with the plow hitting it? Is it? I just understand the bigger conversation for another day why raised crosswalks don't work for Manchester in places like this. And again, my biggest comment is this is great stuff. I'm so happy it's being contemplated.
Thank you.
We did hear another concern that with the speed bump aspect, people would speed up ahead of it and in between for some reason. So there's that issue.
So these are, what we're proposing to do is actually, like in Elm Street, we did a few years ago, bring the curb line out into the street a little bit to slow people down. So there's no raised crosswalk there. This would be at grade. That's how Public Works likes it for Woodard Hill. That's how they like it. But we will be narrowing the street a little bit, so that causes vehicles to move closer together and slow down a little bit.
So one last thing, if I could. So, okay, I get it, and about the experts, what do I know? So, I love traffic calming, and, but back to the raised, when I think about a raised crosswalk, I'm talking about a much larger area than a bump. The raised crosswalk might be 20 feet deep, right? So it's like you can't just kind of hit it and jump over it because it's the full width of it, 10, 15 foot wide crosswalk, which has a different flavor to it. You get up, you're on it, and you drop back down off it. Anyway, no.
They're called speed table.
Speed table.
We ran that by Public Works too.
You don't want that either. I'm not going to fight with DPW, I'll tell you that.
I got one more thing. I put some notes here. Okay, good.
All right. Hi, thank you. Would you consider a hybrid between concept A and concept B? I really like the idea of an outdoor gym. I'm not sure of that area, but I like the idea. And I really like the idea of picnic tables, somewhere folks can eat lunch, have a picnic, bring their kids. Also, as far as the crosswalks, I think it's really important to have traffic calming crosswalks there. I'm a pedestrian and it's terrifying walking in the city. I almost died this weekend on Elm Street. But also, I take care of a kiosk on the southwest corner of the parking lot, and wondering if, that might be able to be moved in the 2,400 square feet open area, or whether it's 6,000 square feet. It might be better located in that central area. It explains about the park.
Hours and when the lights are on and they're off and so forth. But what do you want to see in the park? That's really what we need to know. Do you like what you see? Would you like to see something different? Would you like to see more of one thing and less of another? So what do you ask those kind of questions?
So I have a couple of comments and questions about the softball field, the adult softball field. So I've been playing that field for about 10 years. Some of the people that are with us. I 100% agree that building needs to come down. I use it for the first floor for storage, but I won't dare go up on the second floor because a lot of the brick on the building is cracked, there's water missing. The bathrooms are absolutely terrible. I don't know how often they get cleaned. They probably haven't been cleaned in a year. It's not really on the city, that's on the renters that use them. One of the things that you had mentioned is that the bleachers are going to be repaired. Those bleachers are awful. They need to be torn out and put into some like portable metal bleachers for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know what the plan is for once they fix the infield, how they're going to grade it to drain. But that field, if it rains, it's like a pond for like 3 days. I've literally gone down there with shop vacs and vacuumed the water off the field because how bad it is. The other issue too with the bleachers being there is the backstop is way too close to home plate. It's probably about 7 to 8 feet. I'm not sure what a standard backstop should be, but I mean for us adults, I've seen quite a few people run into the fence because when you're coming home, you just don't have enough time to stop. So that might be something to look into. I know on the plan it says to fix the fence as needed. Is there any plans to, is there any specific plans as far as what sections of the fence? Both dugouts, which are fully made of fencing, are falling down. Most of last year when the dugouts was held up by a ratchet strap, from it was like falling out onto the field.
I think to that point, I think the entire fence has to be replaced.
Okay. And I didn't catch the gentleman's name from Little right here. Alan, Steve. I also agree that the walking path should fall on the fence line. I think it makes for just better eyes on for people, as well as myself as a softball player who facilitates leagues there. It would be nice to have an area where it's more cleared out so that we can, we're not going too into the woods to shag balls that are hit over the fence. I do like the idea of the cornhole in the outfield, in that where the horseshoe pits are. I'm assuming you're talking about like I've seen it in other places where they put in like concrete cornhole boards that we're talking about that are permanent.
Yeah.
So I do think that during softball tournaments, those would get utilized. Currently, there's, I run 5 softball tournaments a year and use that field. There's another league here in the city that uses that field 2 to 3 times a week in the summer, spring and summer, and then more so on the weekends, just due to daylight. We are really excited about this. I mean, there was a huge buzz when this was posted about the improvements to the softball field. It's something that the adult softball community sorely needs, the improvements for. Currently, the leagues that I run, we play on 2 high school girls fields because those are probably the second best fields in the city. The guys at Parks and Rec do an amazing job keeping up with the fields, even the amount of use and abuse that we put through them. So to have another field in the city that is up to par, up to standard. Wolfe Park probably, the softball field probably is even in I'd say the top 5 of softball fields here in the state. So I think the last time that there was work done to it was probably like 6 or 7 years ago when some of the other adult leagues did work to it. It's been a long time coming. So.
One thing that's significant to what you were just talking about is the historicity of those grandstands.
Okay.
It's my understanding they were built in the 30s, about the same time Livingston was. And, so we're going to try to save the concrete part. The seating, of course, has to be 100% replaced. So we'll do that. But if we can, by a combination of cleaning and parting and fixing cracks and so on, if we can save that, then we will have preserved something that's a significant part of Manchester history. So we're going to try to do that if it's feasible.
How would that affect the drainage, though? Like, what are we going to do about the drainage issues?
Part of the engineering effort is to solve any drainage issues that we find not just in the softball field, but throughout the park.
Okay.
That's in the scope of it.
Yeah, and I think to speak on with Little League as well, that outfield, the one field being preserved, when it rains, that outfield suffers the same way that the softball field does. It's like stepping in a pit of mud.
The corner by the parking lot.
Yeah, the back, well, even the other corner in the back.
I haven't noticed so much there. I noticed it in the right field corner by the parking lot.
Yeah.
Just the whole,
The outfield is just straight mud.
In the back.
Yeah, thank you. I'll change the subject here. For the skate park, just want to make sure that, us as locals have an opportunity to help design it and make recommendations who can build it. There's a local gentleman, he runs the Nor'easter Skate Parks. They work with Brownline, one of the best in the world. He, right here locally, could build that no problem. And he's working with, I think, Concord right now to help design and build their park. So I figured I'd just put that on the radar. Letting us be involved in that process. Everyone's on the money with, a good park creates good behavior. And the lighting issue, last time with that, making sure that when it's set up, you got like a slow jam or the lights blink or something like that. I'm at Derry till 10 o'clock when the lights turn off, and they just go out like that and it's pitch black. And you can time it right, but if you don't, or sometimes they shut off a few minutes early, you're going full speed and the lights turn off and you got to jump off your board. You don't know what's going to happen. Just want to put all that on the radar.
This project again is a master plan, and the deliverable at the end of this project is a master plan that incorporates your suggestions and your feedback, and parks and public works, and everybody's feedback.
Yeah.
And then puts together a plan that's similar to these, but in a little bit more detail and some cost estimates, and then some recommended phasing. So the city may not be able to afford everything all at once, but it wants to at least get started as soon as possible in the next year, if practical. So that's what we're working towards now. So the actual construction and how that's done, that would be for a separate discussion.
I understand. And
Once
lighting
each
usually
phase
comes
is
in
something like
phase
that.
3 of any skate park too, so it's not something anybody's going to be upset about if it doesn't happen right away.
And we do have a plan to have a skate park meeting in a couple weeks.
Okay, cool.
Within the next couple weeks to
Yeah,
work on
that
the
would be
design.
great.
A separate meeting that just focuses on the skate park.
Yeah, so selfishly, I would just like an additional adult softball field built. But I think it's a great plan. I think whatever brings community to the area, obviously, like pickleball is growing in popularity tremendously. Skateboarding is starting to come back. It's my understanding that there's plans to regrade and redevelop the infield on the softball field. Is that correct? Am I correct in?
That's part of our investigation phase. And we've taken our preliminary investigation and actually that field is in very good shape, but if there's significant drainage problems that have to be fixed, then
it's not. So my input would be, plans to redevelop and kind of regrade the outfield, because trying to field a hard hit ball in the outfield in Wolfe, like if you don't go down on one knee, like the ball is going by. It almost plays like it's a ball that's hit the infield. So it's very uneven. There's bumps. There's weeds all over the place. As a local softball player, we play a lot at Wolfe Park, but we play a lot in Merrimack as well. So Martell Field in Merrimack is kind of known as like the crown jewel in the state of New Hampshire. But there's a ton of us that play softball in Manchester. Since I started playing in 2019, I've seen softball just get to a level that just it's crazy. It's so big. It's huge. Like softball in New Hampshire, Massachusetts is massive right now. And we want that for Wolfe Park, because we've heard about the old days when Wolfe Park was kind of the crown jewel of New Hampshire slow pitch softball. And we're proud to live in Manchester. We want to see that happen. Obviously, we want to see lights. I did have a question on the lights. Is there plans to add lighting to the existing light poles, or would they be new raised light poles with those new LED lights?
that's a question to be determined.
Okay, sure. But I love the concept, but what ultimately, what we want to see is we want to see a softball field that we can really enjoy playing on and be proud of. Because we play all the time. We play a lot of youth trip. There's teams that come to Wolfe Park from Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, all over the place for these huge youth trip tournaments, which always fill up. And unfortunately, when we get towards the end of the day, everybody has to leave Wolfe. They have to go to Merrimack, because Merrimack is the field that has the lights. If we were to get lights and a beautiful playing surface, there's a good chance that those semifinal games, those loser bracket finals, those winner bracket final games, championship games could get played at Wolfe. That would bring more revenue, obviously, to Manchester. That would bring more people to the area. And I know, I think I can speak for all of us as softball players that, we take a lot of pride in the fields that we play on, and we'd be more than happy to step up our efforts in order to preserve and maintain a clean and beautiful playing surface. So,
very good.
Yeah.
I got two quick things. The naming. I'm not sure the history. I know it as Lally since the 90s. I don't know how far back that Little League complex was known as Lally, but I think you might get some feedback that Lally's not incorporated in that somehow, maybe. I always knew them as two separate parks, but for some reason it's being called Wolfe Park now, but we call it Lally. That's what it was back when I started in the 90s. So that's just, it's I think L-A-L-L-Y is out. And the second thing is you talked about what to put on there. I think all these ideas are great, as long as visibility is huge in the street, because we had to remove dugouts at Creekville Park, which was pretty subtle. We removed all our dugouts. We've had nothing but positive feedback from the police department, because they can come in now and see through the site with no restrictions. The homeless people are gone now because they have no place to hide. locals feel safe. So and I think with new things here, more activity, again, visibility of the view.
A Memorial Garden. Yeah, that's good feedback, and we were planning on doing that. You can see here that the new dugout is just fenced. You can see right through it.
This is a little outdated. We had the roofs were going to be replaced, but now we're just taking them off.
We took all our roofs down. We have chain link fence. You can see right through them.
That building's gone too.
The building gone opens that up too because that was huge.
Good.
I'm curious why both plans have 8 pickleball courts. Is that like just...
Well, we started out with 6 actually, but the feedback we're getting is that you can't have enough pickleball.
I understand that's really popular right now, but I think there needs to be green space for families to gather with young children. The playground area is quite small, and I think families need a place to feel safe, as well as the pickleballers.
I think as part of this open space, we need to know like what people want to see there. If we should just leave it open, bring in picnic tables, things like that.
Yeah. On that same note, I think both of these designs kind of suffer from a problem that we've seen at Wolfe Park, where just too much was put in. There's not enough. There needs to be some openness and some open space. And so when I see 8 pickleball, I'm like, that's a lot of pickleball and not a lot of open space. I have done events at Wolfe Park, and we stopped doing them there, especially once the half pipe got put in, because there's just no more open space anymore. There's nowhere for anyone to do any kind of ad hoc recreation. It has to be the things that are built in, and there needs to be more flex space. Like, we don't want to go into the fields because you never know when there's going to be a game. You don't want to mess up their field. So I think a little more open space, quite a bit more, but I'd say at least double the biggest one you have there, to have more picnic tables, more areas for that kind of thing, and with shade. That's also another big thing. Sometimes parks put picnic tables out in the middle of the sun. It's like, no one wants that. So I would say less built-in recreation, a little bit more flex space.
I want to talk a little bit about the proximity of the different ages of children and how that would relate to that open space in the playground.
I don't know if we have pictures of the playground. It just got redone, but it is just like one structure. There's a couple other smaller things. I think the age would be 5 to 12.
5 to 12. So there's nothing at that park for younger children. And I've seen there are so many pickleballs in a location that the younger kids take over a pickleball court to play their own mini games at, and that doesn't always go over well with the pickleballers. But I think we need to think of something for the younger set and for families, gathering space, picnic tables, shade, a dig space for kids with safe.
I think we're on the same wavelength with this. Sophie has specifically made this kind of right now a flexible space that could be as simple as a few picnic tables and benches, and it would allow adults and older kids, well, let's say toddlers that are here in the playground in the slide area. Parents and kids on bikes, maybe following the kind of trails that Sophie showed, and then the older kids in the skateboard park, and all within, essentially eyeball distance of the parents who might be in that picnic.
One more concern is the intersection of Harvell and 2nd Street. That is a traffic nightmare at all times of the day. And I'm hoping that you've considered something to help in that intersection. I mean, Dairy Queen is extremely busy, but the traffic flow on 2nd Street and that intersection turning onto 2nd Street is awful.
I think if I had a magic wand, I think that's outside the scope.
I think, in the past, I've gotten quite a few phone calls, and the unfortunate thing is you can't put lights there. You can't put red lights or things like that because the highway will back up. You can't have those cars backing up on the highway. So it's kind of, I know it stinks, especially if you're coming off the highway, to try to make especially if you're going to try to make a left turn. to cross over. Sometimes I think people just take a right quickly and then try to turn around somewhere. But I don't think believe me, I looked at it, our traffic department looked at it, the state's actually looked at it, and unfortunately, it's not an easy solution.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just the issue about the little kids, and the older kids, I just reminded of something that was going on in recent weeks in Wolfe Park, where there's an issue. I don't mean an issue; it's not a problem. But there's a group of parents of little kids who were gathered there each morning during the summer and into the fall with very small, like toddlers and things. And my youngest of my 4 kids is 22, so I've forgotten the differences. But there were older kids who were only like 2nd, 3rd, 4th graders, using the equipment, and the little kids were, they couldn't both use it. That's what the problem was. You can't have little kids use the same equipment as an 8-year-old, because seemingly it doesn't work. And I'm too old to remember, but it doesn't work. So I like the idea of having something for the kids below that 5 years or 5 and below that isn't there today, and keeping them a little bit separate or whatever. I mean, anyway, I know it's an issue with them right now.
Right. Just that last comment I have, no matter what you do, it's going to be an improvement. Whatever you put in. Comment, many of your volunteers took care of both of these parks. I can remember George Smith and other people down there on their hands and knees with towels soaking up the water. And even today, it happens. So I'm sure you'll do the engineering and all that stuff. But don't, to his comment about Wolfe Park, I've seen thousands of people there years ago in softball tournament. You don't have the correct lighting and all that. Don't shortchange. If you're going to do the project, do it completely, bring it to the alderman's attention as to why. We have 2 great aldermen here that understand sports and what's happening. Let's do the project, but do it right. Don't shortchange the west side.
I do have a quick question, a little off topic. So the half-mile loop, I'm just wondering if anybody has specific interest in it being half a mile, if that's important, or if it just can be a path.
I don't think it would matter. I really don't.
To that note, I am guessing that the blue hash mark is kind of already existing on the plan.
The blue dash line?
The blue hash mark, blue dash line.
Yes.
Well,
it goes all the way around. That shows where the
I think for people who walk and want to do specific mileage, having something to track, like around Doors Pond, there's sort of mileage tickers and quarter-mile markers or half-mile markers. So having it extend all the way around I think is great. If it can cross the road, it looks like it does, and go around. What was were you thinking shorter?
Well, I know there were mentions of